Hello and welcome. My name is Tom.
And I'm Heather.
And you're sitting at the couples table.
The Couples Table is a live stream podcast here on this YouTube channel. Join us for better or worse,
For richer or poor,
in sickness and in health.
as long as we both shall stream, and as long as I also check the audio levels over
How's
here.
the audio? Oh, how's the audio? Oh, we gotta test out the mics, but there's a 30-second delay. Oh, that sounds good.
You sound amazing. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Shout out to the early peeps. We didn't have a pre-show today because we had a very fun Just Create More mixer.
Wine mixer. The Catalina wine
Shout out
mixer.
to Simply Obs, Chip Griffin, Keith White, Jared Spin, Curiosity Network podcast, Out in the Wild with Jonah Gaze, Mr. Camera Junkie, Spiral Lab, My Fave Tech,
From Buckeye, Arizona, I've got two Buckeyes right here.
Robotrix, The Rambling Vlogger, and Ken Arold from Norway. Hello, everybody. And Action Crypto in the house, too.
Yay! All
Impressed
right.
with the mic stand. You spray painted this.
Yeah, this is quite the hodgepodge right now because this is the base. I'm using the Shure Super 55, which is one of my favorite mics.
This is Tom Buck Blue, though. That's not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're pretty close. This is one of my favorite mics, but I never use it because it's very hard to mount. But I really, really like it. And so this is the actual Shure stand from like the 1950s. They're very readily available on eBay, but it was really ugly, so I repainted it. But the mic still wasn't high enough, so then I put this little thing here, and now it's hodgepodged together, but it works great.
I have to do this before.
Oh, Mike's here.
Yeah, I have to do this before we continue. But Mike Mena, everybody go to the video description underneath this video, and you will see links to two videos, and they are from Mike's channel, and that's what we're going to be talking
I
about.
hope that's okay with you, Mike. It'll teach you to email me.
Also, we have two people from Norway. That's awesome.
Norway.
You were on fire today.
Well, you know what? If people don't like it, they'll leave angry comments about it. That's my transition into today's topic.
Okay, so first of all, before we get into today's topic, we were very apprehensive about today's topic. We're navigating.
Well, how to approach it? So
Yeah.
this is something. It's sort of. This is, I think, a very good related thing to a podcast I did this week.
Yes.
So the Enthusiasm Project podcast. It's kind of connected to the most recent episode there, which is called "The Internet is a Loud, Angry Place." And this sort of builds on that because for a lot of reasons, but also because weird things have happened, like literally since I recorded that episode to now. And I've come to realizations, Heather's come to realizations, and it's an important thing to talk about, but I was kind of hesitant. One of the reasons was because I know we've talked about comments and feedback and negative comments and feedback before many times. And the last thing I'd want is for people to be like, oh, boo-hoo, like it's just the YouTubers talking about comments again. But I think we have a specific angle that is really interesting that we haven't talked about before and I haven't heard before.
It's like, it's such a weird thing to talk about because it's like, when I get comments, like, but like, if you know me and you know this show, and this is on my channel, like, I really thought about it and I was like, okay, I'm a content creator advocate and a digital literacy advocate and have been since day one. And part of promoting that advocacy is having these tough conversations that my gut instinct is like, ooh, this is kind of weird to talk about. But I mean, because it's hard to talk about, I think it's worth talking about.
Right.
But like, not gonna lie, the whole time, like all morning, we were like, should we talk about this?
Well,
like,
so we'll kind of we'll navigate it as best we can.
Yeah.
But a big thing that really helped was one of the most common pieces of advice you get as a YouTuber or someone who gets comments or feedback from people on the internet is just ignore it. It's negative. Just ignore it. Focus on the positive. And that is, okay, I shouldn't say it's terrible advice. It might work for some people. Some people are just built in a way where they can do that. I don't agree with that at all. And I think that it is generally not great advice at all and potentially harmful because it's not practical and it's going to make people feel even worse when they realize they can't ignore stuff. And to even take it a step further, I kind of feel as though if you're going to ignore the negative stuff, then that means you need to ignore everything, because as a human, I don't know how it's possible to keep my mind and like heart and feelings open to positive stuff but then closed to negative stuff. Like I don't have that filter built in, so it's either like I have to be able to feel and appreciate everything, or I have to block it all out.
And I think that's the part, because I'm sure we've talked about this many times, but the thing that like really frustrates me about the just ignore it angle is that if, like, okay, I'll speak for myself, okay, because I don't want to say, oh, it's easy for everybody. For me, if there is a comment that really upsets me or bothers me in a way, and then someone tells me to ignore it, but I even though I'm telling myself to ignore it, I'm still thinking about it, then it makes me feel worse, because like I'm just so incapable of getting over this thing that this stranger said on the internet. And no matter how much I rationalize and try to reason with myself, like, look at all the good things, this person has no idea what they're talking about, like this person doesn't know, or they're wrong, or whatever, like it still feels like I'm still bothered by it. And that's why I feel like it is invalidating to your humanity, right? To you as a human who feels things, to just tell somebody to ignore it. So I think since many of us are content creators, I think we understand a troll comment. There's a troll comment.
Those are very easy to ignore.
There's a spam comment. There's there's stupid comments. Like when we say negative comment, I'm sure we picture something. The things that are easy to ignore, like if someone were to call me like, I don't know, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're ugly, whatever, those have no impact on me, because it doesn't like substitute me for any other creator. And if it could still apply, then it's like, well, who cares? Those are really, really easy to ignore. It's the same way as if I see spam, like super easy to ignore. This is a troll who is trolling everywhere. Right. It's the ones where they're personal in a very strange way, whether they point out an insecurity that I have. I've mentioned this comment before, but when I got into my first car accident, I did a live stream like as soon as I got home, because I don't know why. That was like I was processing, and that was like the thing I decided to do. And the reason why was because I was like, okay, I'm documenting my journey as authentically as possible. At the time, 6 years ago, all the entrepreneurial videos were people like these dudes standing in front of their Lamborghinis. And I was like in front of my Camaro that I had just crashed. Thankfully, I was okay. But someone had watched the replay and said something like, oh, so you expect us to support you by donating to your Patreon so you could live life however you want and do whatever you want. Because in that stream, someone asked me like, oh, do you have a Patreon or somewhere where we can like whatever? I wasn't trying to like fundraise or get donations, but someone had asked. And so I said, and like that comment sent me reeling. Like I just started crying because I was so freaking frustrated. I don't know where that guy is or anything, but like I remember it to this day, and it was like, it's something that I thought about. Those are the kind of comments that I'm talking about, where it's like, maybe you've been around long enough to get real specific about the thing that you're talking about. It's not something that's just like, this guy's ugly. Like, whatever. Like, I hate purple. Your jokes suck. Like, those to me are very like, you don't even know me, man, whatever.
Right.
But it's the ones that are like, I feel uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
those
there's
are
just something, your gut feels a way about things. I was talking to somebody over this weekend about, there's somebody who has like an online following, and they were talking about a couple different interactions between like followers they had in real life. And we were talking about how it could be the exact same thing from two different people, but your gut can tell you something is off on one, even though if you wrote out the Hollywood script for it, the lines would be identical, but there's something off just about one and something weird. Not off about the other. And it's sort of the same thing with comments. And every comment is, well, not every comment, the ones that aren't by spam bots and stuff are tied from real people, and it might be something really quick. This video is dumb, this video is great, whatever. They're not thinking about it 5 seconds after they write it. But you don't know that, I guess. You don't know the context of the person or anything. You just see the thing that they shared, and it affects you, how it's going to affect you, and there's no way around that. And that's why we'll dive into this a little bit more, but we talked about Mike's videos. My podcast this week was it centered a lot about around the Rodecaster Pro 2, but not the device, but the like backlash I got from it, because there was a group of people who were unhappy with some of the features it did or didn't have, which I think are objectively wrong. And I go into it in the thing. It's frustrating. But for some reason, instead of like submitting feedback to Rode or something, even though they've kind of already addressed the issues, which weren't even issues in the first place, it's just squeaky wheel gets the grease. Instead of doing that, I became the place to go for all of that, to a point where it wasn't just like YouTube comments where I can choose. I might not be able to ignore the good ones, bad ones, set them out, but I can choose not to look at them for today or tomorrow or whatever. It was every email account that I have. I have like 6 different emails for different things, both private and public. All of them, even ones that aren't public, getting feedback from this. It was every social media account getting direct messages and like direct post tags, whatever. It was then even on other sites like Reddit. So the end of the day comes and I'm just trying to like turn my brain off by, just reading random things as I fall asleep. And then literally I see like my name pop up in Reddit threads about people who are awful and terrible. And it's like, wow, this is really hard to not take personal and to not feel bad about. But I know the objective thing is like, just ignore it, man. They don't know you. Yeah, I know they don't. But you know what? Really sucks when you literally can't escape it from anything. And they're all wrong. They're all wrong. And I can't correct it. I can't one by one explain how wrong they are objectively. I can't do it. And it's so frustrating because I love context. I hate inaccuracy. I hate bullying and meanness. And this is just all of that. It's bullying and meanness with no context or accuracy. And that's just what I was surrounded by for weeks on end. And it really bothered me. So I recorded a podcast episode about it. And I was very hesitant. At the end, I was like, I don't know if I should actually put this up. So I had Heather listen to it.
Yeah, like he never does that.
Yeah.
He was like, I actually might not even publish this one. I was like, let me listen to it. And and I heard it and it was great. And if you've heard it, like, he's gotten really good feedback. And if you haven't heard it yet, I definitely recommend it.
Yes.
It comes down to like, this is such a weird thing to talk about. And I think like the thing I finally decided like, let's do an episode on this, because it's that like weird gap between we're all figuring out how to make a YouTube channel and then gold play buttons, millions of subscribers. It's so loud. These people don't even read your comments. And then there's the weird part in between.
Right.
And it's that in between part where it's not even so much the channel size, but just because you've been on the internet and been creating content for 6 years now, like there's bound to be something that you've created that someone disagrees with or whatever. And it's very interesting because luckily, like, luckily a lot of the people who comment on my stuff are you guys. It's like the couples table people. It's, and I've mentioned it very several times before. I don't want a silver play button. I don't want to grow that big. I don't want to invite people who don't want to be here to be here. Like I just want to make a living doing what I love and talking about what I want to talk about and doing that with the people who share the same interests. It has been very interesting to be married to someone who is going through this growth process, like from 0 to 100K.
Well,
it's very, because nothing has changed. This is the same Tom that I met on day one, who has never done a live stream before, had no idea how to do YouTube. It's the same person. But I think what I've noticed is happening is that the closer you get to 100K, I don't know, the more negativity there is.
I think there's a point I want to finish, but I think when it comes to that, it's like there's a certain number for everybody, whatever it might. To some people, a channel with 4 million is a small channel, but there's a certain thing where it's like independent of the content, they see those numbers, those vanity metrics, and that changes their perspective on the thing. And suddenly, what could have just been like a little person making a video by themselves now
Right.
is some like, you're just trying to get ad
You're a
revenue, you're just
sellout,
trying to
you're
do
a
and it's like
shill
the
or
video
whatever.
is the same, but the person
Yeah.
so what I was trying to get to, the point I was trying to get to before, was the thing about that podcast that I want to be clear about is I didn't record that episode until I felt like I had some practical solutions and
Right.
thoughts. So it is good because it talks about like practical things you can do, everything from limiting the amount of time you're exposed to stuff to like adding blocked words lists. Like I tried to be very practical with it. But because of that, that's where Mike sent me an email, where Mike is all about language and the power of language and how language works. And I have an English degree, and I feel like
That's
I
his
don't even
YouTube
speak
channel.
English after watching some of his stuff. So he sent a really nice email that kind of put things in perspective in a neat way, and a couple of videos that sort of helped explain the why behind it. So those videos are linked in the description here, which are super interesting, and it's all about the fact that language, written language, does have, or language in general, not just written, language has an effect on the real world. And so it essentially becomes impossible. Like words hurt, words cause problems. A big example Mike uses in the video is if somebody says, I now pronounce you married, things change, right? If the right person says it at the right time, the mood changes, the situation changes, everything changes. If you just go outside right now and I just started shouting at our neighbors, I now pronounce you married, nothing would change except that someone would probably call the police on me. Even though I didn't say call the police, that's probably what would happen because this guy's gone crazy over here. So like words affect things. And when it comes to even typed out comments on the internet, they have the power to affect you, to affect your mood, your perception of things. They can also make you feel attacked. There's also, like I mentioned earlier, there's no chance for me to like retort, really. I guess I could write something back to the person, but that it feels very like impotent and ineffective. And if it's not in a situation where you can delete it, like if it's on your thing, you could probably delete it, but if you can't, that means it's just there. Like when I come across like
it's
those
on
Reddit
Reddit
threads or
something,
whatever,
yeah.
it's like well, unless the person decides to delete this, it's just always going to be here. And every time somebody 12 years from now Googles something, this thread could potentially pop up, and that's just always going to be there. And nothing I can do about that. And that hurts. And it's not crazy to admit to yourself that that sucks and it hurts and it messes with you and it gets in your mind. So that was my main point that I wanted to cover there and contextualize why those links are in the description.
Yes. Okay, let's peek into the comments really quick. Kat says negative comments hit you in the emotional part of the brain, not the logical part.
They do. And I should say, too, when we talk about negative versus positive, it's not saying like all the comments should just be telling us how great we are.
Yeah.
No, but a positive comment could also just be like you're engaging with the stuff. You're talking about the subject. You're asking a question. You're, talking to other people in the like. Those are all positive. That doesn't have to be just ego inflation.
100,000 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down still equals out to 1 thumbs down.
It doesn't erase it.
The only reason it can hurt is because you care. Ken says if you've first have read the negative comment, it's more or less impossible to ignore
because
it.
it's in your brain, right? You can't be
Yeah.
like, oh, no, never mind. Erase it.
Yeah.
We need an entire live stream on toxic positivity and how it's harmful. As a former educator, let me tell you,
Words
yes.
can hurt. Let's see. Monza and media. I think when you're a smaller creator, it hits a bit harder because you don't really get a lot of comments at first. See, well, that's my thing though. I feel like it hits hard no matter what.
Yeah.
But what sucks, what I imagine happens, I can't say this for sure because I am also a smaller creator, but I think what happens based on what I'm seeing with Tom is that you eventually become jaded to all comments. Like the good ones also don't hit as much because you see so many bad ones that you have to do a defensive mechanism, and then I'm
gonna make a note because there's a point I want to come back to at some point.
Because look, the difference between 11,000 subscribers, which is what I have, and 100,000, which is pretty much what Tom has, is a lot. That is a very big difference. But we're the same. A lot of what we do is the soy. A lot of what we do is the same. Sorry, my screensaver turned on. Like Tom is still able to read every comment if he wanted to. Like the volume has definitely increased, but like it still hurts. You know, like
it doesn't not hurt anybody. I mean, I've heard creators with tens of millions of subscribers talking about like, you know, they scroll through and they just happen to see the one that, you know, it doesn't matter that you have objective evidence to the contrary. Like nobody likes hearing negative things. And one of the things that I mentioned in the podcast episode was you really can start, it really starts messing with your brain in a strange way, where the example I used in that was somebody left a thing that was like, the Rodecaster 2 seems cool, but I wish it were built as good as the original one. It's built like garbage. It's super cheap and plasticky. And I was like, okay, no. Like, it's not even an opinion, because I have both of them right here, and I can feel the build quality, and they're both good, but the new one is objectively better built. It's more durable, it's more sturdy, it's all those things. I'm holding them and I'm feeling them, but then there's several people left comments of that, and it's like, I'm starting to second guess, like, maybe I'm missing something. Like, do I not know what metal feels like? Do I not know what makes something sturdy? Like, even though I'm literally physically like touching the things, I have the evidence right here. They've probably never even owned one. And you start second guessing yourself. So it does play with your brain in this weird way when you start hearing those things. If you're like, no, you know, like my stupid jokes are fun, but then you get, you know, a bunch of people saying like, knock it off, your channel would be more successful if you didn't do this. This is annoying. This is frustrating.
He's been getting that one a lot lately.
Oh yeah, I've been getting ones where people are like, it'll often come across because sometimes people leave something like, wow, I like your channel. You know, you should have more subscribers or whatever, which is, you know, a very nice thing for someone to say. And then below it, this has happened a couple times. People will go, his channel would do so much better if he would just stop with the jokes. And it's like, okay, thanks.
It reminds me of this. So Spiral Lab says, mostly I'm able to ignore stupid negative comments, but recently I had a comment that really got under my skin. It was framed as supportive, but it was really mean and thoughtless, and it shook me.
Yeah, because you're not asking for that criticism.
Well,
you're not asking for that feedback.
Yeah. It reminds me of a comment I got. Someone was like, oh, this was super helpful, but you talk with your hands too much and it's distracting or something. And I was really annoyed. Like that really
annoyed. How you talk. Because that's like a part of who you are.
Exactly. It's like telling someone with a lisp, like, yeah, your lisp is distracting. Like, I can't change that. That's just how I talk, you know? And
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
It's also, there's a thing too where it's like, okay, if I'm making a video about this microphone right here and I'm telling you about it, and then you want to leave a comment that's like, oh, I noticed your level was a little low, you could do that. Like, that topic might invite constructive feedback on that topic. But if I make a video about, like, you know, a recent one was about Zoom settings. So, okay, here's best settings for Zoom. This is what you should do here, blah, blah, blah. And then someone decides to leave comments about, like, I don't know, my studio lighting or my camera angle or editing. Like, no. This is not the place. Wasn't asking for constructive or deconstructive feedback on this video. Not at all. Just because it exists doesn't mean that you can then send me your feedback. That's not what this is for right now. And that's a thing that just because you put something out there, it's an open invitation for a lot of times for people to be critical in ways that you're not at all intending them to be.
On my live stream, I was talking about money, and I said, this is uncomfortable for me to talk about. And the comment was, yeah, that was really that really was cringy. And if you want people to support you, you need to offer more than just personal anecdotes. God.
And see, for someone who likes to connect with people on a personal level like you do, I can imagine why that would really sting, because it's naturally going to make you feel like, this is what I do. Am I wrong to do? Do I need to, like...
Yeah, because now you... Especially
and
as,
that
like...
person will never think about it again.
As creators, right? Like, our whole thing... Like, we can't create if we're in the wrong mindset. And it just sucks that they're... Like, of course, I give these things power, but... It's like, I don't know. I don't want to feel bad that it bothers me. I just don't want to feel bad that these things bother me, you know?
No, because...
Even, I know, like, I see how it's like, just ignore it, but like, I can't.
Because language has power. Like, that's the whole thing, right? Like, words have meaning.
Okay,
Language has power.
Young Joey says, I believe negative comments stem from jealousy of being a content creator, because why would people spend the time hating if they themselves don't want that life themselves? It's all weird.
Well,
it is weird.
Yeah, that goes into something we'll maybe talk about later called hate watching.
Yes, I had people talk about my disability. It was and tell me I'm arrogant and I'm stupid and all these vicious things. It can really get to you, especially if it hits you in a certain day. I mean, any day, you know? It's just like, ugh. Also, I see that we got a
super chat from
super
Office
chat.
Noob. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you, Office.
constantly supportive.
Oh, thanks. You've got to remain true to yourself no matter the negative feedback. It's what makes you you. Why else would you put yourself out there? Your jokes are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and that's ultimately true.
And that's why we're talking about this, because I feel like seeing practical examples, like, it's really easy to be like, negative comments, ignore it. But when you see, like, you guys know Tom, you watched his videos, and he's telling you the exact comments that he's getting and why they bother him. I feel like that is more helpful, because then you can understand the context of, like, this isn't just like a casual comment in passing. It's like, you know, it's different.
Yeah, I had a person go, it was the weirdest comment. Obviously, some people are just deranged, as this person was, but I was using a certain adapter on a microphone, and they wrote a novel about, like, it started with, oh, look at you, cute little guy with, like, his little adapter there, like, here's something you need to do. It's called going to college, and once you learn a few things and you get some life experience. And I was like, MFer, I'm 36 with a master's degree, like, what do you know? Like, chances are I'm older.
Who also taught.
Yeah, also
I was
also
a teacher. Like,
also, who cares if I'm using a 90-degree XLR adapter on my microphone, bitch? Sorry. Sometimes you just gotta
we
let
don't
it out.
have the roadcaster to believe out the things, okay?
Okay. Felt good though, I gotta say. Sometimes you just gotta drop the B-bomb.
You know what? This is the reality, okay? This is the reality. Mons on Media. Fortunately, I'm not that big a channel yet, but I get the sellout comment. The sellout comment every now and then. The sellout comment
It's so stupid.
is so annoying, because to me, it's like, why would you think that? Just, I know that I know there are people who have come before us that have sold out. That doesn't mean that anyone who does something similar has also sold out. There are many of us who care and are still just as passionate. This guy has a whole freaking ethics statement on his freaking
No, but that just makes me a, what is it, pretentious a-hole? Yeah, so you can't win when it comes to these things, but yeah.
But again, I think it's important to have this conversation.
Well, that's why it's frustrating, because, and that's what Mike had told me in his email, was like, you these things that have impact and action are happening to you, and you have no way of actually counteracting them or defending yourself or saying anything. It's not a dialogue. It's not like we're going to have a conversation about something. And that's where it gets so frustrating, because if someone's calling you a sellout and you know, like, what do you mean? Like, I have not only values and things, but you know, like, okay, I talk about this thing on my channel, but I went out and bought it. I like it. I use it. I'm talking about it. How am I
like,
being
literally
paid?
Tom did not get paid for any of the Roadcaster 2 content. $0.
No, they sent the Roadcaster, but I was gonna buy it anyway, so that was, I don't want to say irrelevant, because it's nice to get a free Roadcaster, but
he would have definitely. Are you kidding? You think he wouldn't have bought it if he couldn't get it?
I was
like,
on the
of course he was gonna get it. So like the whole sellout thing, just like it. I know it frustrates you, but it frustrates the hell out of me as your wife, because it's like, that's just wrong. Like, that's just, I know him and he's not that. I don't know, whatever. That creative girl, yes, thanks. It was crippling when I first began content creation, but now I just block people and try to roll with the punches. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You do that too.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem using the hide user from channel,
and
deleting
I think,
comments
like,
and stuff.
We've gotten pretty good at, like, of being more like, if you have any inkling of should I hide this person, just do it.
As
like,
soon
if
as
you're
I have the
already
feeling
thinking
to do
about
that,
it, yeah.
It's already in my brain, but I do try to go like, okay, this is uncomfortable, get boom, and then I try to focus out, which then also goes back to a thing I went here, because you mentioned that, like, you can get jaded by comments. A thing that's really been important, especially in the last few weeks, I've tried to do this for a long time, but it's really appreciate the positive ones. The negative things stick out more because they sting more, but to really sit there and spend equal time going like, somebody not only like took the time to watch something that I made, but then to like leave a comment on it and to say something positive or related or interesting or whatever it might be. Like, sometimes people share like a personal anecdote to their, like, to the video, like, oh, this reminds me of in 1993 I did this thing over here, and it's like, that's super cool. Like, this person is telling a story here, and even if you don't always reply to it, just like when someone says thank you on a video, it's just like, that's cool. Like, that's cool that somebody liked this video enough or got something out of it
And
that
I
they
can't
wanted
tell
to
you
say thank you.
how many times Tom will tell me, like, look at this nice message, look at this nice email, like, look at, like, we spend more time talking about that. Like, you just had an email from a mom of an 11-year-old who wanted to do a consultation with Tom because he wants to set up a something for the something.
She is auditioning to be like a voice actor for voice roles, and I was like, this is super cool that this person, even though like I can't do the consultation because of my schedule right now, it's really cool that they trust me enough to help them with something that's really important.
Like, do you know how cool that is? Like,
Yeah.
that's really cool. But also, to appreciate how cool that is, you also have to, you can't, unless you're honestly like a sociopath, you can like turn off your brain. Like,
you're severed.
Kat says, I also really want Ecamm to hide the dislike reaction. So disheartening when you are live and trying to engage with the comments.
You know what?
Just,
Oh,
like,
it didn't.
giant.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. I know.
Yeah, it does. It's frustrating.
Jack says, remember that only people doing something worthwhile get comments, including the negative ones.
I mean, there is that part of it too, where if you're doing something that people are gonna have a strong positive reaction to, that probably means there are people who are gonna have a strong negative reaction to it. Yeah.
Getting comments practice to let negative comments affect your mood.
It's constant state of steal yourself, like steal your mind.
NBA players get instructed not to read the comment section on their social media from what I've heard. KD gets slack for responding to total strangers negatively.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like you're going into an important game or something and someone just tells you how terrible you are? And it doesn't matter that you're on the court as an NBA star and they're not. It could still throw you off just a little bit where now you're going to miss a shot or be a little distracted or something.
Sebastian says, it's hard not to let the 0.5% of comments get to you, but for the most part, you say, I won't let some goof affect my mood. For those that still do, give yourself 7 minutes to be affected and then move on.
Acknowledge it. There's also, like, I have learned if I'm planning to record a video this morning or something, there's no way I'm checking comments on anything until the afternoon. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
no.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
It just doesn't matter.
It's not worth the risk. Also, a lot of people like your jokes, so don't.
I mean, I have fun with them too, and obviously that's one of those things, because people like it, people are going to dislike it, but it's like, if you watch something and you hate it, but other people are clearly enjoying it, then it's just not for you, and that's fine.
Well, that's the thing.
Just go find something that's for you.
This is the thing. Like, this is the thing that annoys me. That, like, it's just one of those very, very frustrating things that, like, feels impossible to address, like world freaking peace or something, because it's just like, the problem is so obvious, but it's never going to solve itself because people are people. And it's, why do people hate watch? Why do people hate follow? Why do people hate subscribe? If something bothers you to any degree, leave.
Yeah, like why do you want that on
go. If you hate Tom's jokes, then go. Like,
yeah, you don't need to tell me
them.
every week that
yeah,
you like, because guess what?
Go.
Next week there's gonna be more. Like,
I don't understand. I don't get that. I cannot tell you how easy it is for me to unsubscribe to somebody. Like, as soon, I don't watch YouTube as often as Tom does, so like, I'll check my subscription box, and then there will always be a video from a channel that I haven't seen in a while, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when I subscribed to this, but I'm not keto anymore, so I'm gonna unsubscribe. Big deal. There's no like, oh, your content sucks, like you're stupid. Like, there's none of that. I just unsubscribe. It's that easy. And so I cannot help but think that if you are still here, even though the content bothers you to the point where now you are creating content about how much you hate this person's content, that says more about you than it does about the other person.
That's true. I think we're coming up on a comment from Nick that kind of addresses this, but
okay,
we'll get to it when we get there.
Spiral Lab. Talking about money was totally on point in that live stream, but it is uncomfortable and it's such a vulnerable thing for me. Right. And that's the thing. It's like, it's also on a channel about neurodivergence, you know, where you're coming to the table and we're already having uncomfortable conversations, and for now you to be like cringe, just go or make your own channel. I don't know. Business growth ready. If someone classed it as a joke, it must be funny. A thing that someone says to cause amusement or laughter. Maybe they are not happy people.
It's true. At least
words have meaning, words have power. Tom's starting to sound like Jordan Peterson.
I don't know if that's
Young Joey says, does negative comments cut into your creative flow? Like, has it ever affected your motivation to create? Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I know we said that before, but not checking comments before. But just recently, there was a big thing that happened recently.
This is where you cussed. Because I see the reactions now.
There's a big thing that happened recently that messed with me, and even though the issue got resolved, even yesterday making and editing a video and stuff, I was up in my head more than I've ever been about that. I don't want people living in my head, but I couldn't kick them out, and it sucked. It really sucked.
We're going to come back to that. Drew says, I've recently been a target of negative, unconstructive comments, and being someone that's new to so many aspects and trying to build a new life for myself, it's gotten to me more than I thought.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, like, there's nothing wrong with you if you feel that way, if these things get to you, because you are human. And the weird part about deciding to create content on the internet is that there is no training, there's no prep, there's no source of like, this is what you should do in this case, or this is why you're feeling the things that you do. And for some reason, especially for people who also don't create themselves, because I feel like if you put yourself out there, you get it. But if you haven't, then you're more inclined to just like
armchair quarterback it.
Yes, exactly. And I'm sorry you're going through that. But I will also say is that I do feel like it's inevitable for everybody who's creating content on the internet. If it hasn't happened yet, it will, just because the internet is a loud and angry place.
It is a loud and angry place.
That's why I also do feel like it's worth conversation, because it's like, it's going to happen if it hasn't already. And I remember like it being a rite of passage. Like, okay,
right,
you've gotten to a point where your videos and whatever content you create are not just going to your friends and family that you told word of mouth. Like now YouTube is starting to push it out to people who have no idea or no connection to who you are. So with all those strangers who dig your content are also going to be people who probably don't.
That's what Nick said right there.
Nick Lewis. The thing is that as you go viral and your channel grows, YouTube starts testing your content to different people. A lot of those aren't going to like you, so it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, that that is definitely part of it. It's just the urge of those people to have to say something about it is where it's like, you just don't say anything about it.
Oh, Drew says that's one of the reasons I've been missing my consistency in posting.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, is people will try to offer constructive feedback, but it's like, in your case, you said it was not constructive, but even if it were, if it's not something you want to hear right now, it's destructive. Like, there's a very big difference between like, I don't know, walking up to someone and saying like, hey, look at the clothes I'm wearing. What should I change? What should I fit or fix in my outfit? And then you just walk out the door and somebody says like, man, that shirt sucks. You should do this. This look like, you're like, whoa, I wasn't asking for that right now.
From you. Even
though it could be the same advice of like, oh yeah, okay, maybe change this or have it fitted different or something. It's like,
also Action Crypto super chat, $5. Small insignificant people only feel better about their miserable lives when they put others down. Avoid the Tom B. Stick to, aw, you're so sad. Yeah. And I know this, we know it's a reflection of the person. Still hurts though,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where did I go? Oh, here we go. Jack says, selling out is fine. Do whatever you want to make money. It is a business. And that's the thing. So like, even if I were to sell out, one, why does it bother you? And two, if it bothers you, just leave.
Well, I mean, I completely like
Just leave? Like, I don't get it.
I pitched some sponsorship ideas to Rode last week. I don't know if they'll say yes or not, but it was like, you know what? um, obviously, like I like the products. I use them a lot. They've been a part of my channel. But if people are gonna like sit here and tell me like, oh, you're getting paid to do this, like, why not? Sure. How about I get paid to do this then? Like, why not?
We got another one from Drew,
Bo-bo-bo.
499. Thank you for being positive voices in this loud, angry place sometimes. You two are awesome. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. It's very
Yeah.
frustrating.
But you're not the only one. Out in the wild, anyone get satisfaction in sarcastic remarks, or is that something to avoid?
Like leaving them or finding them?
Well, here's
Sarcasm does not translate well.
how you like take action or not take action in response to a comment is like a whole separate thing. Because of course you could ignore it, you could block it, you can respond, you can engage, and totally depends.
I've never responded and thought it was a good idea afterwards.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, you've had situations where people did come back and kind of change their tune a little bit.
Yeah, because I always try to, like the person who was like, you talk with your hands or whatever. I like responded and
you
then
guys went on for a while.
yeah, they responded back and then I was like, great, here we go. And then, but actually like they came around, they were like, oh, I
mean, most of the time when you sit down with one-on-one with someone, you can find some common ground.
Yeah, because, like, I don't care if that makes me a cheesy, optimistic, cringy person, but I believe that we have more in common than we do not. Like, I will always give people the benefit of the doubt. And maybe it's because I'm happy, right? Like, I don't project, like, negativity to people, but that's why I also would never leave a comment like that. Like, if something really bothered me, I would just go.
Yeah.
Like, Kat says we care more about the comments that we are sensitive to in some way, not the blatantly ridiculous
Right.
ones.
If you're, wondering about something or you're feeling insecure about something or you're on the fence creatively and then somebody just pokes at it, even if they're wrong, it stings.
Young Joey says, I don't think people realize the amount of hard work that creators do, though, and haters watch 3 seconds of our 30-minute work and drop such hateful words like,
Yeah.
Well, that and, like, it's also, like, years of work because, yes, it's like watching the 30 seconds of, the 10-minute video that took 30 minutes of work, but also to make that video that you're watching was thousands
Right.
of other videos that had to be made first, so that's why it is like
Right. I had somebody say something about I've been doing some art lists, like 60-second integrations to videos recently, and I had somebody say like, I can't believe they pay you that much for a minute of work. And it's like, well, it's a minute in the final video, but the amount of time making that minute was more than 1 minute, believe it or not, but also getting to making something to a point where there's something where somebody even cares at all to pay for a minute of it.
Like, it took
lot of
work to get to
Yeah.
that point. It's not just like they came up to him randomly on the street and was like, I'll pay you to make
Go start a YouTube channel right now, make
Yeah.
one video and put it like, no, you like creating the thing that's valuable enough.
And
to
I
do
know
that
that
is hard.
person understands that. But for some reason, like, they don't think about it. It's like, I don't know. Timothy says, I try to be positive and change the topic of conversation with said person.
Yeah.
Mr. Camera
That's a good
Junkie,
one.
focus on the flowers, not thorns.
I mean, that's very important, if you're going to be hurt by a negative thing when you see the positive stuff. Even if positive just means someone interacting with someone else in a kind, fun way, it's a cool thing to acknowledge that too.
Paul Duncan says, constructive criticism is different than an attack. The attacks get removed.
And that came
Yes.
from Mr. Moderator himself, so
Yeah.
that's there you go.
Exactly. And I realize that people are busy and that are booked and have a lot going on. They don't really have time to leave crazy novel like negative comments.
Right. What are you doing where you're writing literally 5,000 words on this YouTube?
Yeah, like
comment?
if you care that much, then why? Like you're still here. Like, it obviously says more about you because you are still here.
Yeah.
If you like were happy, you would just go watch TV, go play video games, go eat something. Like, why? I don't get it. Hate watch, yes. See, the world has 8 billion people. I have 1 video, 8 subscribers, deleted already 2 comments, and I don't care. No one remember what they said. I can do this forever for all the world population. For what? The 4 watt thing.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that one.
Do you want to retell it?
Well, yeah, so that's from today's video. I didn't know if anyone was going to remember this because it's based on not an old song, but a not new song. I did a video about lights today, and in it I talk about a 220 watt light. And my criticism of the light, what did I say? I do wish this were a 216 watt light, and I know that's very nitpicky, but I just think it would be great to turn down 4 watt.
That's actually pretty good.
That's a really good note.
Really good.
Yeah, come on.
Paul Duncan says, it drives me crazy, the people that complain and keep coming back only to complain. There are a lot of other channels out there.
Just go, man.
It's like you go, so say you go to a restaurant and it gives you food poisoning, but you still keep going back there. Like, just don't go back.
Yeah, stop doing that,
like, so, do you know how much work it takes to go back, but you keep doing that on your own volition that you are doing that? Like, I don't know. I just think that's just human nature. People do crazy stuff all the time because of jealousy and hatred. That just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And that's why, like, I get that people are people. And, you know, haters are going to hate, whatever. We can't change that. That's always going to be there, as it comes with the territory of creating on the internet. But also, like, how do we navigate the feelings that we have in response to seeing those things?
Right. That's the key thing. Because you're never going to stop people from doing that. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to avoid it. So how do you handle it? Like, how do you manage it is a very, very important thing. I
want to show you guys something before we wrap up, but I'm trying to catch up with the comments. Yeah, okay, let's see. Showing up while someone is live just to dislike their content makes 0 sense to me. Just spend time on what you actually like instead. Well, I mean, right there, that says so much more about you than it does about the creator.
Not you, but them.
Yeah, like, that you would, like you... I feel bad for you, you know, like, you're going to put it in your calendar so that you make sure that you're on the live stream that you don't want to watch just so you can dislike it. Like, what? I see entire channels dedicated to bashing others. It's so crazy to put that type of energy into it. See, like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, people are people, and it pays to, like...
That's the unfortunate thing, too, of, like, negativity gets clicks. That's why you see people say, like, even in the camera thing, like, reasons not to get this camera, worst thing ever, worst whatever. And it's like, no, they're not going to tell you it's the worst thing, don't buy it. But more people are going to click on that than if they say, like, this thing's pretty cool. Like, even though that's the more accurate.
Ken says, almost everyone talks with their hands, more or less. If you're not doing it, you're probably going to get comments like, are you a robot? Be yourself. Talk.
No, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with everything like that.
Ben says, we love you guys. Keep on dancing. Thank you. Let's see. I used to think I was the king of dad jokes until I came across Tom's channel.
Dad jokes is how I roll.
Avars, I just got a few really negative comments, and none of authors had their own content on YouTube. Well, you know what? That is going to be how it is most of the time. Most of the people who leave comments like that, like, I just want them to be like, come here, come to my studio. You make this video, make it better than I would have. Make your own video. Come here. If you know how to do it, come here and do it, you know? Like, that's all I gotta say. I love
imagining the person just turning white and freaking out and like, wait, I need help. How do you
do this? You could do it better, do it.
Do it better. Yeah.
You were doing nothing by coming over here and trashing the place. Like, go host your own party and make it better than mine. Cool. Why not get paid? This is our job. You do have to eat. And see, that's another thing. Because it's like this guy, a sellout, the former high school teacher who is like supporting our 2 dogs and his wife. Like, I don't understand why that. What is this lavish, luxurious lifestyle?
Public educators are known for their lavish lifestyles.
What is the sellout? Like, what is the sellout that you're so like you're like imagining that, like, oh my god, this guy sold out? Like,
yeah,
what
they backed up a dump truck full of money to our house.
Yeah, like what do you think we're doing? I don't know. I'm happy I have this comedian, the people I found on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. everyone's talking about whether they respond or don't respond. We all do have more in common than not. The more you travel, the more you realize that.
Right.
Yes. If you have moderators, they can deal with the comments, remove them. That way, the
True.
dirt isn't on the creator's hands. You just need to be clear with your mods. What isn't acceptable.
I was moderating a live stream this morning, Paul, and I kept thinking of you because I had to keep like putting people in timeout and stuff. And I was like, what would Paul do? Okay, this.
That's cute. Da, 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 da. I have people complain that my best performing video is too long. I don't respond, but in my head, I think, yeah, will 90K other folks disagree? Exactly.
Wait. I see Ono says, my exception with today's video is that incandescents aren't really dangerous. I beg to differ after teaching with them in a high school setting for many years, because they're not dangerous if you know how to use them. And if you don't know how to use them, they can be very dangerous because the amount of heat and the amount of like energy that goes out of them, the amount of times I had to stop high school kids from almost seriously burning themselves or burning the place down because of incandescent lights, which I was very happy that they just, maybe I'm talking about halogen. No, whatever the ones were like video lights that if you even put like a fingerprint on it, the bulb would explode. Those aren't that fun to deal with. LED lights, way better. But in the hands of a trained professional, no, they're totally safe.
Okay, so how do you want to...
Well, if you stay to the